Hello and good morning, everyone. I'm Elise as Another Truth here on YouTube. I hope you're all doing well and you're having a great week so far. I hope it's productive or restful and recuperative or a combination of both. And I hope you're employing your boundaries. I hope that you are getting self care. You're doing that for yourself. It's important. I'm a fan of boundaries. It's important that you set those boundaries. It doesn't always have to be in personal relationships, which I encourage you to have them in such things, but it also could be of your time and what your limit is. And those should be honored and respected. So, just a heads up, I will be talking about um, a perspective I have on reaction channels. You could say that my channel is reactive, and I also offer some perspectives. Just a content warning, this could be triggering for some because people don't really like to talk about this type of issue. This is not here to take away anybody's livelihood. I'm not placing a call to action to get rid of reaction channels. I think that some reaction channels have turned their content into perspective channels, which is a lot different in terms of how information is acquired, cited, and credited, and portrayed in one's video. Reaction channels have become a deeply embedded part of YouTube, as you might know. They offer viewers an emotional, very entertaining way to process content collectively. Sometimes it isn't always entertaining, depending on what those reaction channels are talking about. Whether it's music, drama, movies, or breaking news. And I will talk a little bit more about this later on in the video. But as YouTube, dare I say, evolves, so too must our understanding of what reaction channels are, what they provide, and where they fall short. Just for transparency's sake, yes, this image is AI generated. This is something I could have drawn and done myself and used as a thumbnail. I wanted something quick to reflect what I'm talking about. That's why I would say that my use of this might make it a lower quality video based on this because so many people have perspectives on AI, and I can understand why it would be troubling for some. Also, for transparency, I do use ChatGPT not to generate ideas, but to help me organize my ideas. And then later I insert certain types of research in there. Sometimes I do apply cited material in it while I'm doing the organizational process, but I find when I go back to edit things, it is easier. Okay, going back to reaction channels. At their best, reaction channels provide emotional engagement, cultural insight, and a sense of community. Viewers often watch reaction content not just for the subject matter, but for the personality and perspective of the reactor. It's about shared experience and interpretation, reacting not just to media, but through it. There are examples out there that show the potential for reaction content to be transformative and meaningful, not just passive or parasitic. I have exampled those in video reposts. However, there have been some debate about the health of the reaction genre. Whether a specific reaction channel is doing well is often difficult to assess, at least by my understanding, due to the opaque nature of YouTube analytics. Many creators, including myself, have experienced sharp and sudden changes in viewership that don't seem to correlate with content quality or consistency. Yes, even to mine, even though that my channel has always been a certain way. There are things that I talk about that not everybody's interested in. I don't show my face when I speak. If I did, it might bring in um, more traffic, but some of the stuff that I talk about is not something YouTube would probably promote. And given other factors, I think sometimes YouTube is discriminatory based on age, location, and so on. But I would say that mine is because of the quality of my videos, whereas others, it's because there might be some disinterest in some of the clickbait nonsense, the repetition of material. It's not always a reaction rather than a perspective of what's already discussed. And there's nothing wrong with that, because having different perspectives on things, that's important. YouTube doesn't offer much transparency in this area, and creators are left to speculate if they've been shadow banned or something has happened. Some have noted that reaction content is slowly declining in popularity, as seen in online discourse and Reddit threads. This could reflect shifting audience expectations, stricter platform policies, or a general saturation of similar formats. It's also that the audience perspective is shifting. Now, some people have used escapism during the pandemic. We are in troubled times and troubled waters. People are reporting more on what's going on in their real lives, in the real life outside. And somehow other people's problems from problematic creators themselves are just not as interesting to make reaction videos with, which would fall back on the shifting audience expectations. As a small creator, I want to clarify that my work falls into the category of perspective-driven content than traditional reaction videos. Oh, please let me explain. I do not present emotional first-hand reactions usually, but instead offer some considered responses after synthesizing material. It may not always go as deep as it should, because there are some places I'm not willing to go on a certain subject matter. What I do isn't a spontaneous reaction usually, unless I'm speaking casually, and sometimes when I talk about my personal experiences. I have epiphanies, I have flashbacks that are anxiety inducing. There could be a number of things going on And that way it is spontaneous because sometimes I don't recognize the reaction that I have from things. Now, in general, a perspective driven approach emphasizes commentary rooted in context, experience, and ethics. Ethics, it's debatable, but um, if you're giving your honest opinion about something, who's going to tell you otherwise, right? It values usually interpretation over immediacy, depth over spectacle. My own content is low in production quality and not polished, and I still and I re- excuse me, and I receive very little engagement. Still, I see value in creating commentary that helps contextualize events in media, even if only for a small audience, even if it helps me to understand a situation. In general, this shift toward a perspective driven content genre is something that many reaction creators are embracing, whether intentionally or not. Audiences, and I have seen this, I have gone through a lot of channels, seen a lot of interesting perspectives on things. My own algorithm is changing for the better. Now, I would rather just have a collection of different ideas, but I do tend to engage with different types of material on YouTube. I pinpoint what is exceptionally insightful when I can. Sometimes I go into channels and a video's not particularly good because the content it isn't well delivered, but I'll still have a perspective on something, and not everybody likes what I have to say. And some people don't think through before they say things. I have that issue too. And what I say may sound weird or out of this world or not appropriate for the content or for the channel. That's something that I have to personally assess. So audiences increasingly demand more thoughtful, nuanced takes on issues rather than surface level reactions. That, again, that is what I am noticing in discussions with other channels. Creators who provide deeper analysis, personal insight, or social commentary tend to retain more trust and engagement over time. I have found that to be consistently true. And I can say right off the bat, there is one creator who does this masterfully. They've been able to retain their audience members. They slowly are increasing their audience members. And if you're talking about a reactionary channel, I consider this channel to be more of a perspective channel. And yes, that would be Radiant Brit. If you want honest, thoughtful commentary, sometimes it's, there might be a video or two I question. I say, it's kind of over the top, but she has done work that she has spotted things long before other reaction channels have discovered. Now, we all discover our things when we discover it. We all come to terms with certain things on a different time scale or time frame. We're all different in that respect. But she has been sort of the earlier adopter of the purpose behind a perspective channel. And in terms of spotting trouble long before it happens, questioning things and bringing her perspective based on perhaps her experience, her skills, and so on. So, creators like her are not simply reaction videos, they're conversations with an audience about meaning, implication, and ethics by far. Reaction channels often face criticism for being low effort. Some merely replay existing content with minimal commentary, raising fair use and copyright concerns. I have seen a lot of channels where the person just positions themselves in the camera. They could be doing homework and it seems like it's on a loop, right? Yet they post people's reactions on TikTok to other people's reactions. To me, that is not indicative of fair use, and it's providing reaction without meaningful commentary to that. And that might be a different level of content. But others go deeper using reaction formats to explore human behavior, culture, ethics, and emotion. These creators are adapting, making their content more thoughtful and deliberate to meet evolving platform and viewer standards. YouTube has been increasingly clamping down on content that violates copyright or delivers poor quality or deceptive information. Yes, but it is picky about what it does because there are people who continue to do that to get away, and they get away with it. This has had a real impact on the reaction space in general, especially channels that relied heavily on re-upload or borrowed content with little transformative input. That kind of goes back to the people making content and they're looking at the screen and they're personally not reacting to it, or the image is on a loop while they're watching these reactions happen. What this means is simply reacting isn't enough anymore. You have to add value, be as original as you can be, and respect the rules around content ownership. This shift is changing how reaction channels operate, hopefully compelling them to become more creative or risk losing visibility and monetization. Now, again, YouTube does what it does, and I have seen extremely transformative content, powerful content, where content creators are accused of bringing in fake traffic. Now, we never know from content creator to content creator because there are a lot of shortcuts taken, but I can't imagine a channel that is over a decade old that has been maintaining or growing slowly over that time suddenly losing their their ad revenue based on weird traffic, traffic through their channel. Now, I don't know all the details. I'm thinking about one creator in mind. So we'll see what happens. It could be a mistake, but on the surface, it doesn't look like anything that was created to enhance that traffic, though it might have a lot to do with something on an external site, but I don't know. But I hope they get their channel back because their content was very, very interesting and powerful. Okay, and that's another thing. Um, I don't usually bring receipts. I just give you my opinion, and that's it. I always say to do your own research. There are a lot of people who do bring receipts. Again, that's from their perspective. There may be more to it, and having a link to original material would help, although you don't want to bring traffic to people who are bad actors on YouTube, on this YouTube stage, so to speak. Um, but if I can identify where that is from just by the content, it would be easy for me to go back and look at it if I needed some more context on it. Um, a major issue plaguing reaction and commentary channels is the irresponsible dissemination of half truths, unverified claims, and unknowns as if they were facts. That's why I say my things are based on opinions, not facts. And that's not a general thing that I tap on there. I mean it when I say that. The reaction format by nature often rewards fast takes over thoughtful research in a lot of cases, but not all cases. In the race to be the first to comment on an issue, creators can inadvertently or deliberately spread misinformation. This becomes especially harmful when a creator presents speculation or opinion as confirmed information. Misquotes, misunderstood sources, or selective edited clips can completely distort reality, as we know, and sometimes it puts people in very real situations, very really bad situations, leading viewers to form biased or incorrect conclusions. This practice not only misleads audiences, but also harms the credibility of the genre as a whole. And I'm just speaking in general. Now I'll be a little specific. Creators like Katie Joy, for instance, have come under criticism for publishing reaction based commentary that appears to borrow heavily from other sources and other people's life experiences without proper attribution or verification. This kind of behavior damages the integrity of online commentary and blurs the line between journalism and opportunism. As content creators, I mean, I need to take my own advice too. We should take more responsibility for what we present. Offering speculation or highlighting unknowns is fine. And in fact, I encourage bringing in your own ideas into it because we all have something to offer. We all come from different places, different spaces, different backgrounds. We're different on our timeline of development and evolution. And I think that you can't discourage creativity, but we need to label them clearly as such and avoid manipulating narratives for engagement or profit. I want to get into this next piece because this one is a little bit. This is probably one of the most troubling aspect of reaction um, content creators, and I've even examined how I've approached the subject. That the case of Foodie Beauty illustrates many of these issues in real time, as I've described earlier. Her controversial Kuwait arc involving an alleged marriage, possible trafficking, because there was some speculation that she might have been trafficked there to make money. That's speculative. That's an opinion. It's not just mine. It's a shared opinion, but I say possible. I do not say that's happened. And unclear financial motives has reignited attention from the reaction community. Well, to be honest with you, some people have been consistently hammering away at it. And in my case, I hadn't talked about Foodie Beauty in quite a while. And then this has brought a lot to my attention because there are things that are just not right about this situation. And especially um, a video that one of her lives that presented very disturbing behavior just before the Catgate situation happened, if I have the timeline correct. Um, Again, even I, after years of not engaging with her content, felt compelled to comment, mostly out of concern and confusion, not really curiosity. The lack of clarity around her finances, how she is using donations, the potential misuse of those donations, and her possible misrepresentation of her living situation, using green screens to create an image to obscure the reality, all raise serious red flags. Claims have been made that she grifted money under false pretenses, potentially laundering audience donations to support her channel or escape legal issues in Kuwait. That is speculative. That's an opinion that I choose these words very cautiously because I don't know the situation. These issues are deeply serious. Now, while I don't know all the nuances of Kuwaiti law or whether she actually broke them, though I do think she did according to testimony, um, or some issues that was raised um, by a particular organization, the suspicion alone forces us to question what ethical commentary looks like. It also shows how vulnerable reaction content is to exploitation, both by creators being reacted to and by the reactors themselves. So many channels that react to figures like Foodie Beauty generate more revenue from her content than she does. So there's a problematic power imbalance. Reactions can amplify important issues, but they can also commodify real human tragedies for entertainment. Some creators claim that their channels have recently experienced spikes in traffic, possibly tied to trending controversy, especially around the aforementioned content creator. But such surges are usually temporary, in my opinion. Long term success in this space now depends on adapting to new ethical and quality expectations, not exploiting sensationalism. And people are tired of the clickbait crap and the same um, stuff being copied from others without really any transformative or original thought. If creators like Foodie Beauty are adjusting their strategies, it may be out of necessity and not evolution. Their relationship with their audience has fractured and their trust has eroded. Well, that ship sailed years ago. But I'm just saying that the Kuwait arc wasn't her best. Um, it wasn't her best gig, I would say. Her parent detachment and transactional relationship with others reflect a broader issue of performative identity and monetized deception. Reaction content isn't dying, but it is under pressure to, I guess, grow up. As creators, we can no longer lean on recycled content all the time, or half truths, or shock value to gain traction. The audience is more discerning now, and the platform is less forgiving. And there is a lot going on in the real world that people are focusing on. Although foodie is a part of the real world and that, but there are real life things going on, and some people are a little more concerned about that. Um, that's why I think perspective driven content that challenges both creator and viewer to think critically, to seek truth, and to foster meaningful dialogue is probably the way to go. And it still can be used as a form of escapism. I know that garbage reactionary um, videos, it's entertainment. It's taken us out of the space of perhaps facing what we're facing. It just depends on the individual. This means respecting the complexity of the stories we cover and being transparent about what we know and what we don't. So you may have noticed that recently. While it's not a reaction channel, and I wouldn't say it, it's a it's a true crime channel, but it talks about people's life experiences that were not otherwise discussed. If you go to Evil Intentions, I just love his channel. I just love his commentary, and I love that he has a relationship with his viewers and his community. Um, and there are perspectives from him that have actually inspired me to do better work in my own community. And I'm not just saying that because that's what I draw from that. I'm not going to draw, say from Gorlick bread, for instance. While his commentary channel is still going fairly well, I've made my own commentary on that. I don't think that his content is necessarily going to inspire me to become a better me. It's not giving me the perspective is not changing the way that I think about things. Perhaps the fact that this type of commentary channel exists, and I'm saying this in general, not about his channel. It's a way to say, okay, we've got to do better. Okay, so that's what I think anyway. I hope YouTube continues to support creators who strive for these standards while holding those who manipulate narratives or abuse the format accountable. Reaction content can still be meaningful, but only if it evolves to meet the moment with honesty, clarity, and integrity. And integrity means that you're not always right. It means you own up when something isn't right with your content and not just a fake apology or nonsense. So, say my reaction on a particular politician's lousy apology, um, maybe that doesn't generate a lot of interest, okay? But it's important because my reaction to it is real. And um, to tell people we're going to die anyway, to tell people who are already fighting for their lives, whether they have mental health disabilities, physical illness, physical disabilities, cognitive differences, neurodivergency, then telling people we're going to die anyway, we don't deserve health care. Um, my reaction to that is guttural, and it makes it, but it makes me think that this is a mindset I have to be concerned about. And even though that is not YouTube commentary, I had a reaction to it that made me act on it in a constructive way to reiterate the importance of talking about things that are difficult but that have to be talked about. I hope to make my channel more transformative, or to create more transformative content. That's why instead of sensationalizing the foodie beauty situation, um, I try to bring some level of perspective to it. And to be honest, that situation is very unsettling, as I've mentioned before. Very unsettling to say the least. It's hard to know what's going on. So that's just it. This is my perspectives, opinions, and thoughts on the matter. And I encourage you to do your own research, your own thoughts. And if you need the assistance of AI to access certain information or links, or you need it to help you reconstruct your message, I do support that.